may ignite the lanterns now, my young delvers. Does it shock you how swiftly the light of day is lost here in the deep vaults? Can you feel the dark pouring into your lungs, suffocating you with tenebrous mass? No? Well, do not think it impossible. I have seen it happen twice myself. Ah, you chuckle. Good, good. It is not wise to allow fear to bite too hard down here. If you allow terror to enter your veins in an icy rush, you will find yourself freezing at an inopportune moment. Like when a raging trench eagle is barreling down a tunnel. Though 'tis foolish to ignore fear altogether, as overconfidence kills just as fast, if not faster. No more laughter? Perhaps that is for the best. The light will attract enough trouble without your gigglesome foolishness drawing more. Now, look about yourselves. Do you recognize the style? The broad wood panels, the use of wrought iron on the decorative moldings, and, of course, the imperial rosette. No? They are classic elements of concordate architecture, and a sign that you are still within the relative safety of the shallows. Knowledge, little fledglings, and the wit to use it will be your sharpest blade and stoutest defense down here. In fact, this was once a counting house that kept accounts and coin for many a noble family in times long past. Do not get excited. The wealth was taken long ago, if it even survived the collapse of the Concordate. But there is treasure of another sort, for you see, I happen to know that the vaults of that era were kept underground, and so we will find a passage to a deeper layer right behind this panel. Note here the coffered ceiling. Yes, it looks like bronze or brass, but I assure you it is not. There is no tarnish, no verdigris. It is the same material as the brazen dome and just as indestructible. It is also a sure sign that we have made it to the mid-vaults, as are the ghoul droppings there. Do not sneer, there is value in such things. I shall tell you why when one of you volunteers to collect it. Then we shall rest a while. My final lesson on delving into the deep vaults, my little clams, is on trust. It is unwise to have faith in someone without knowing what drives them, what they fear, and, crucially in this case, to whom they might owe a debt. For instance, it was I who packed the provisions, just as it was I who poisoned them. Worry not. The numbness in your limbs that make you so helpless also means you will not feel the bites and claws of the ghouls. I thank you all for helping me feed our colleague's pets while he is busy.
Welcome to Mythtakes Happen. This is season 1 of a world-building podcast where two good friends talk about the partitioned city of Heliakon, a living, breathing world for you to game in, live in, and explore. I'm Chris, a Victorian teacher and writer.
He, of course, means from the state of Victoria, not from the Victorian era. Hi, I'm Aaron, a professional game master from South Australia.
We will begin with Ready, Setting, Go, where we discuss significant aspects of the setting, followed by Fable Fodder, where each host has developed setting and story aspects of a fantasy world without the interference or knowledge of the other host.
After, we take a short break, imperceptible to you, the listener, through the magic of technology, and return with World War words, weaving together connections, linking our two halves together, and perhaps altering some fundamental aspect of one another's contributions.
No tears, my friend. We will ruin this world together. At the end, we move to jumping to conclusions, where we discuss the whys and hows of our whats.
Look in the episode description for follow-up materials, trigger warnings, and anything else that might matter. Supplementary aids will be linked here, including summaries of our work so far, alternate takes, and GM tips, all eventually culminating in a deliciously attractive PDF at the end of the season's run.
For a few episodes, you may hear us referring to the podcast using a different name, but this is a false memory implanted in your brain by the podcast industry. Pay it no heed. Before we begin, we acknowledge the traditional custodians of this great land. I am recording on the land of the Kulin Nation, home to the Boonwurrung people.
And I'm recording this on the land of the indigenous Ghana people of the Adelaide Plains.
And with that, we'll get started.
I do play this board game, which I told you about before, where I play Donak Thunderfist, who's basically the dwarfiest dwarf who ever dwarfed. That was the whole point of the character. One of the other characters is Fiora, who's a self-described social justice barbarian. Basically, think Frank Frazetta crossed with Captain America with the aesthetic of the Barbie film.
Yeah, okay, I like that. I could get behind that.
Right? So a lot of weird stuff happens, but she ends up with her own sort of castle and a bit of a staff. Castle used to be an evil castle, but it's been redecorated and redone all in her style. So it looks like the old evil Grayskull castle, but done like a Barbie dream home.
Oh, neat.
Last adventure, my poor Donak lost all his gear, like every little piece and pieces, lots of criticals and other bits and pieces, critical failures and so forth. So he came back with nothing. And she said, it's all good. The place has got an armory and we're going to set you up. The trouble is that all the equipment in there is also on the same theme. So my new Warhammer is pastel pink. Oh, she loves pigs. So the hammer's head is a pair of pig snouts on either side.
That's awesome. That sounds like a Borderlands-themed game.
No, because it's actually good.
Hey, that's not cool, man. Borderlands actually looks good.
I don't.
That's it. It doesn't play that well. You don't think so? You don't like that aesthetic?
I like the art style, but not the aesthetic. No, it's just knockoff Fallout. It's not funny.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah.
I do agree that it's not very funny. Maybe we should dig down on this. Maybe this is the real path forward for this podcast.
Yeah, totally.
Criticizing Borderlands.
Honestly, there's not that much to Borderlands. We can maybe squeak 20 minutes out of it. I don't think we're going to get to a season 2.
I think we could do 6 seasons. Because I think we can criticize it in different ways. Like you can say, well, why are there so many guns? And I can say, well, the guns are there because people like the guns. They like getting the guns, Aaron.
I thought we're criticizing it. You're defending it.
Oh, yeah. Damn, I forgot. I think I actually like Borderlands. Sorry.
Anyway,
I've just been tricked.
We're supposed to be doing Mythtakes Happen today, aren't we?
Mythtakes Happen, yes. Let's welcome our listeners to episode 8 of Mythtakes Happen.
That's right.
It is It is episode 8. We are returning to our proper structure, which begins with Ready, Setting, Go.
Last time I checked, yes.
Yes. And then continues with the other
Fable
thing.
Fodder, and then World War
Fable
words,
Fodder.
and then jumping
knew that
to
one.
conclusions.
And then jumping to conclusions.
We actually have a bit of an apology to make during our Ready, Setting, Go, because we made a bit of a promise about this episode, and we broke it.
But actually, yes, we did promise that we were going to talk a lot about
the propaganda.
A particular topic, the propaganda machines, and then both of us forgot about it, or maliciously didn't.
Yeah, not malicious. I got one of the topics I didn't discuss during our sort of big recap, episode 7. I just started digging down even further into. I ended up with nearly 2,000 words and cut it back a little bit. But even still, I'm slightly concerned. I've got too much material, and none of it has to do with propaganda at all.
Mainly, I just forgot about it and started looking at some bits that I was working on and never finished. And because I had a lot of spare time at work this week, like every week, because it's just stupid, I actually managed to get some work done on that. And then I did that. And then as I was editing episode 7, I saw that we promised to do that. And then I felt bad. But only very briefly, because we get to put anything we want on this podcast.
True.
Even just our moans. But let's not.
No, let's not do that. However, I would like to touch on the propaganda side of things. So perhaps we can do that for episode 9.
Yeah, let's say episode 9, at the very least, we'll get some propaganda in there.
Yeah. Do something with it.
Yeah. I actually have, this is not related, but I have 4 interesting facts for you that I thought that it would be. I've got 4 facts for you.
Okay.
Did you know that allodoxophobia is the fear of other people's opinions?
No, I did not know that.
Is that an interesting fact?
Yes, it is, especially since it sounds a little bit like you're actually afraid of being doxxed instead.
So you like that fact?
I do, yes.
Oh my God. Yeah, very good, right? Okay.
Yep, I enjoyed it.
The other one is that, did you know that the largest bowling alley in the world is in Japan and it has 116 lanes?
Oh, right, so it's sort of largest in width, not in length.
Yeah, this is not the longest. I think they're a standard length, aren't they?
Well, you get 2 lengths. You get the shorter, like, kiddie length sort of one that you don't often see outside of, like, arcades. And then you have, the standard length.
I thought actually it would be so funny to have a bowling alley, but it would just have, it's very expensive, but there's only 1 lane in it.
Right.
And you go in and there's only 1 pin. And then you're like, why is that happening? And then the people in there, they just encourage you to have a go to bowl, and you bowl. And if you get the pin, it deconstructs into 10 pins.
Sort of like, when you hit a really big slime, it breaks apart into smaller slimes.
Exactly, yeah. And then you have to fight the pins.
Right. Yeah, I can see
that's
how
not
that'd
part
be
of the fact.
But fun.
That's not part of the fact.
Oh.
Okay. Did you know that for 20 years, up until 1920, tug of war was in the Olympics?
I did not know that, but I did know that there have been a wide variety of activities involved in the Olympics.
One last one.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know that although you can't touch music, it can touch you?
I can't help but feel like you're using 2 different definitions of the word touch there, and I appreciate that. That's part of the ambiguity of the English language that makes it interesting and fun.
And fact.
And yes, I did enjoy that.
It's not really a fact.
It's not really a fact.
Okay, cool. That's it.
Cool.
All right, so let's get started with Ready, Set, and Go.
Well,
I believe that
already doing Ready, Set, and Go.
we're sort of already doing it, yeah, but let's officially put the funny sound right here.
In the grim darkness of the 21st century, there is only Ready, Set, and Go.
Hilarious.
Brilliant. Whatever it was. I think this one is your episode to edit, so
I'll enjoy that.
you enjoy that. Oh no, you're going to cut out all of my Bill Cosby humor. No.
I definitely will.
Oh my God. Okay. I think it's actually your turn. I think you're starting the episode proper, aren't you?
You want to do Fable Fodder then?
Once we do Fable Fodder, yeah, of course.
Yes, it is. However, if we want to talk about what we brought up during our really exciting and interesting big recap conversation episode in 7...
We talked about gods, the idea of magic as a kind of parallel realm with like roiling ideas and concepts in there.
And that their vortices cause gods. Yeah, we came up with the sort of real mechanism for godhood.
That's right. We did actually also say that we're going to talk about the turning of the ages, and we never got back to that. But it's okay. I made an interesting edit there.
Oh, right. Well, I look forward to listening to it. There's still so much of this world for us to explore. which is
And we only have several episodes left.
of season 1. We will return to Heliakon.
We will return to Heliakon, even perhaps in the near future, the form of an actual role-playing thing is something that I would be very interested in, because we're defining and making this world, and I'd like to be inside of it and ruin it in some way.
So we're still working out, getting our players together and working out the mechanics of recording one when you are poor and don't have a studio.
Why is it
We're getting
so
lost.
expensive?
What other topics did we discuss last episode? Because we also talked about the about Wraith Quartz and some more details around
we
that.
talked about Wraith Quartz. You defined what Wraith Quartz looks like.
And sort of
And you've put some pretty pictures of it into our document, which is very interesting. We talked about like the resonance of the magic, and that there are different varieties of Wraith Quartz. Yeah.
Maybe we should just move on to Fable Fodder, perhaps?
We should.
In the grim darkness of the 21st century, there is only fable fodder.
So I, as I said, got a little bit caught in a specific deep dive, as it were. One of the things that we talked very briefly about, to sort of be mentioning actually repeatedly, basically since the first episode, are the Winnowed.
We have talked about the Winnowed, yeah.
It's our version of the Undead. So I started writing about the mechanism for how they came about, and then the specific sort of common varieties, and then I've got a little bit more after that, a bit broader, but I'll come to it.
Okay.
So I'm going to tell you now about the creation of the Winnowed.
Oh, yes, let's go. Love it.
One of the most common negative consequences of being an osmote is becoming one of the Winnowed and being trapped on the threshold of death with one foot on either side of that grim door. When a wizard draws from the plane of magic through an osmote, allowing that osmote to filter and retain the dangerous and malign energies, whilst pouring the clean magic into a piece of wraith quartz, that magic is now flavoured by the experiences and personality of the osmote, having passed through their soul and flesh. Now, Chris, I'd like you to, and our listeners, to imagine that the soul is like a drop of water beaded on the skin of reality.
Oh, like in real life?
Yeah, exactly. And that the wizard is drawing water through it from the plane of magic into the wraith quartz and leaving behind little particles of filth. Still with me?
Still with you.
Cool. Just like a droplet of water, a soul has a sort of internal tension that forms a skin that's both permeable and flexible, but also fragile.
Is this a metaphor?
It is definitely a metaphor, yes.
Okay.
The trouble is that if that skin breaks, if the tension, like the water tension of the soul breaks, then the raw magic of that soul will follow the flow of magic into the wraith quartz in this massive rush of power. This often leads to the osmote dying, because, you know, when your soul splits open, that's rarely good for your health. But more often than not, the body becomes host to a small but nearly permanent pinhole-sized portal to the plane of magic.
Ooh, okay.
And it's this connection that affords the Winnowed their durable half-life. The vessel for the portal has to be damaged a lot to overcome this constant supply of life energy that is constantly suffusing it. Now,
I'm with you.
whilst the wraith quartz that contains a portion of a person's soul, or, you know, more than one if more people are osmoting and could become winnowed, then the nature of that wraith quartz changes. Its surface will shimmer with an oily rainbow that grows stronger as more soul fragments are trapped within. And that particular form of wraith quartz will also be called Kasa quartz.
Kasa quartz.
Kasa quartz. K-A-H-S-A quartz.
K-A-H. Interesting.
I'm going to briefly talk about the zombie, and then I'll let you have a turn.
Okay,
Cool.
brilliant. Yeah, let's talk about the zombie.
Zombies are the most common form of the Winnowed, by far. Flesh caught between rot and regrowth, and only a vestige of intelligence. For you see, having one's soul burst and poured into a magic rock leaves very little behind. Just a few fragmentary urges that swiftly dissolve in the constant flow and pressure of magic. Experimentation has shown that newly created zombies will gravitate to areas that they were close to in life and the people closest to them. But these urges will pass within days, and the only two things that remain to give this unfortunate creature a purpose are, first and most primally, is the zombie's dim awareness that they lack something vital, that they've lost something, that it needs more life, more magic. It doesn't really have any way of doing this, but it still tries a sort of hunger, although that's not really the right word for it. But the swiftest way for anybody to reach magic, as we've already established, is to pierce the skin of the living. It is flesh and blood. So zombies grab and scratch and bite at all living things around it in a fruitless and thoughtless attempt to regain something that it doesn't even know that it's what it is that it has lost.
It's like an instinctual thing for them. Okay.
There are also examples of uncontrolled zombies consuming wraith quartz and other enchanted items, just because they're searching for that magic. And uncontrolled is that crucial word there, because the other impulse that drives zombies is that there's still a remnants of their soul being caught in the pellucid embrace of a piece of wraith quartz, a Kaza quartz. And the magic user who holds that wraith quartz that has captured the soul of a zombie can mentally send commands through that channel that links the zombie to the Kaza quartz. To the zombie, this is irresistible, because it's basically their own will. Their self is telling them, I'm going to do a thing. There's no reason to think you wouldn't do that. So these will-less creatures follow blindly.
Wow. That's really good. I like the way that fits into sort of the framework that we've established here.
We're going to talk about some more zombies more Winnowed Undead in a bit, but I'd love to hear what you've got for us.
Aaron, I've got two parts, and I think I'm worried that I'm going to be waffling a little bit. These are both about locations rather than people or organizations. I'm leaving that for slightly later episodes. I do have some good stuff, but I thought that I would define today for us the burgs of South Heliakon.
Oh, brilliant.
So we talked about the districts of the Unfettered League, the north of the city, but we have not talked about the southern partition. So we're going to talk about them today. Just like with the districts, there's just going to be a very brief description of what that is, and we can expand on that later or not. I don't want to overly define them, but I do want to put some things into the world that can be interesting or hooks or flavor or something like that.
A brief character of the area.
Let's get started about the burgs of South Heliakon. And after I go through the burgs, I actually do have another location that I want to talk about, perhaps later. So the southern partition is divided into burgs. Each is administered by a burgomeister and a chief custodian, roles which roughly correspond to the Great Consociate Empire's Konarch ruling structure.
Right.
There's always two.
Yeah.
Like the Sith, but like of bureaucracy. Okay, so the first burg is called Antarin. Antarin hosts the foremost military academy in the region in the form of Lord Antarin's Leadership College. It exists to train the officer class of the Consociate's armies here and develop their tactical thinking as well as military management methodologies.
Right.
The second burg is Bokkarin. Bokkarin is also known as the Dragon Graveyard. When the Consociate rediscovered Heliakon, it found in this area a great barren field with colossal bones scattered across it. All efforts to destroy or remove them failed, and after some time it became home to the poorer elements of the Consociate society, who make their homes now among the skeletons of these mysterious creatures, which may or may not be dragons, as no one has ever seen a dead dragon.
Yeah, I think this is our first mention of dragons.
I think it might be second, actually, but yeah. We will have to do a bit of a deep dive, a bit of a find search, I think, on some of these, because there's sort of like, both of us put little throwaway bits here and there, which we do. I like it. Okay, so that was Bokkarin. The next one is called...
Before we move on, does Bokkarin have a marina? Because then it could be the Marina Bokkarin, who is, of course, a fantastic actor. No? All right. Well, continue then.
That's so relatable. I like that. Thank you, Aaron, for this relatable content. Then we have Gruvelin. Gruvelin is a burg almost entirely populated by orcs, as well as a small number of other grey skin races who live at its periphery. It is well known for its stonemasonry as well as its inns and taverns, which are open at all hours of the day and night. Next we come to the burg of Imdalen. Imdalen's strange architecture has invited a lot of wonder and speculation over the years. The buildings here are all from the Concordate era of Heliakon, many of them with mysterious metal shapes on their sides and upon their roofs. Although much research has concerned itself with their purpose, the only conclusion anyone is sure about is that they had something to do with magical or religious rituals, or both.
Right. Very mysterious.
Then we come to the burg that is simply called the Ionid River Market.
That's not simple.
On the east and west banks of the Ionid River, there exists a constantly shifting merchant city to rival the wealth and variety of Bright Market. There are no set places for stalls, and the merchants of this area follow a morning ritual known as the Golden Exodus, moving around the burg and setting up their wares each new day. There is a religious aspect to this with roots in the Consociate's early history.
Right.
Then we come to the burg of Clod. Clod is home to the Symphomortological Orthodox Temple, a particularly conservative denomination of the Guild of Conductors, who hold that the true beauty of enjoying music through the lens of symphomortology is purely in the theory of the practice. Abstract symphomortology is practiced here, and its theory has travelled down some truly bizarre and disturbing paths. Applied symphomortology is scorned and feared here as a decadent and dangerous art form, and so most of the notions of the Orthodox Temple remain unproven and unimplemented. Nestingham. Nestingham is a largely halfling burg, best known as the home of the Anti-Luminarchist Federation. The Federation has its offices here and is closely tied with the Great Consociate Empire's Ministry of Truth, which itself has a kiosk in every burg. In Nestingham, live music of any kind is punishable by death. As one can imagine, it is not a particularly inviting place. Nevertheless, it hosts 3 individual hush taverns, remnants of a once popular silent dining trend well on its way to dying out in the modern Consociate.
I take it it's been kicking and screaming as it dies?
Kicking and screaming. And I'm imagining this place as like a very ultra-conservative area, even perhaps too conservative for the conservatives of Consociate society.
It's the very much zealous end of that particular
Correct.
spectrum.
Next we have Pillaran. Pillaran is home to the Eightfold Ziggurat, the formal seat of the Conarchs of Heliakon. It is a richly decorated burg, replete with statues of the gods, heroes, and rulers of the Consociate. Pillaran is also where the Grand Galleria of the Empire displays the treasures and trinkets liberated from the deep vaults, as well as art from around the Consociate's territories and colonies.
I do like the name.
2 more to go. Next we have the burg of Quarry Hill. Quarry Hill used to be called Monteran until the Consociate's war with the Unfettered League came to Heliakon. It was a wealthy neighbourhood of mansions and expensive restaurants. In the war, these places were razed to the ground, and it was only through the self-sacrifice of regimental leader Maratta Quarry that the Consociate held this territory. Quarry Hill is now best known for its monument of righteous protectors.
Right.
So this is a place, Quarry Hill, there was no quarry there. It is named after Maratta Quarry.
Yeah.
Because I like that. That. I think there should be more of that.
100%.
And the final burg that we'll get to today is called Viltus. Viltus is the most cosmopolitan of the burgs, a thin line on the western periphery of the city. Its architecture is a mixture of modern and classical styles, and it is host to the Academy of Stargazers, one of the few serious astrological associations on the continent. It is a good setting-off point for exploring the lands outside of Heliakon, especially the western Bloodwoods and the mysterious kingdom known colloquially as the Frog Country.
Right.
Which I'll also get to today.
Oh, brilliant.
Perhaps. Yes.
Excited. So we're getting some more areas close to Heliakon.
Some more areas, because I feel like I do have quite a lot of material for Heliakon and sort of more internal things, but I'm going to leave that until I think a little bit later, mainly because it is very hard for me to choose which particular thing I'm going to go with, and this just interested me more today.
It's one of the things that we can impart is try and follow those lines of inspiration. I mean, sometimes you have to just sit down and nut out what really needs to be nutted out. But
Nut out.
Yeah, okay, I regret that phrase
Nut
now.
it.
But it's still it's like when you're mining, you follow the rich seams. You don't just start carving away at raw rock.
Yep. Still thinking about big stone cocks.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, whilst you're doing that, I'm going to talk about some skeletons.
Oh, yes. Spooky ones?
Yeah, definitely not
scary,
like,
spooky
particularly
skeletons.
But very plausibly, yes. Isn't skeleton like a fun word to say? Like, if you do it,
skeleton, like a skeleton of fun.
Yeah, or you can put a sort of an R in the middle of it and call it a skeleton.
Actually, one of my students has been chanting the word skeleton over and over. I don't know if this is like a new thing for kids.
Oh, maybe
do they do that?
Trying to summon a skeleton, or
maybe he's just found out that there is one inside of him. This is very possible.
It is one of those weird things to sort of think about too much, isn't it?
Yes. I had my mouth skeleton parts looked at this morning by a mouth skeleton dentist.
Right.
Wait, is a normal dentist. A dentist looks inside your mouth skeleton.
Yeah, they do. They do.
Yeah.
It's really the only part of the skeleton you really see till things go, poorly.
Generally, yeah.
Isn't that a deep and meaningful thought that I'm immediately going to ignore and talk about the fantasy skeletons?
Fantasy skeletons. Let's go.
Let's go. The trouble with zombies is that they are really only good for violence in the now, and besides being very tough to kill, they have no martial skill at all to speak of. While they are unfailingly obedient to a necromancer's commands, that lasts only so long as the wizard concentrates and is within line of sight. Zombies left to guard a place will have the tendency to wander off in search of life to fill that aching void in their souls. In the midst of the war, the great one, between the Great Consortiate and the Unfettered League, one enterprising cabal discovered that by taking a fragment of the Wraith Quartz that contains a Winnowed's soul and implanting it into the bone of a zombie, that they can restore a small measure of intelligence to the creature. This had the surprising effect that the newly intelligent creature now only recognizes the connected bones as its self, and the flow of magic stops partially regenerating its flesh, causing that flesh to finish rotting and slough off the bone. Given that this is both sort of unhygienic, smelly, and extraordinarily lengthy, and most creators of skeletons remove that flesh themselves. Skeletons are less hardy than zombies, though they are seemingly as eternal, but they are at least capable of basic weapons craft, following simple commands without supervision, and have some ability to discern between things. For example, they could be commanded to kill anyone who tries to pass through a gate without displaying a specific sigil, though they would not be capable of waiting for somebody to get that sigil out of a bag or pocket, and in no way, shape, be able to spot a forgery or anything. But it does make them significantly more useful outside of a go that way and kill people context.
Yeah.
The next one, I want to talk about wights.
Wights. Yeah. So are you going to talk about the elephant in the room?
Well, unless that elephant is the Winnowed, no.
It's white power, Aaron. It's white power.
Right. Well, I am going to talk about the powers of a wight, yes. Although admittedly there is no H in that particular wight. Probably for the best, really.
Isn't there?
Not in this one, no. Wight.
W-I-G-H-T.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, it's got a H in it, yes. It's just later in the sentence. Now I'm feeling foolish. That's not as though I'm looking at the word or anything.
You can just edit that out.
No, I'm not going to. I'm going to remain foolish in the ears and eyes of our listeners.
I was like, did Aaron create a new spelling of white for our world? I like that. That's bold.
I just decided that they were Wiggets. They're just W-I-G-T-S.
The Wiggets.
Wiggets.
That sounds like a slur as well, actually.
Oh, gosh, it does. All right. I'm going to talk about these wights, not Wiggets, and try to ignore my foolishness.
Tell me.
Now, these Winnowed actually predate the modern use of Wraith Quartz, although the use of osmotes has drastically increased their number, and they are an excellent example of why it is a really bad idea to eat strange magical rocks.
Yeah,
a lesson that everyone needs to learn.
Mm-hmm.
Wights are the result of either a person eating a large chunk of Wraith Quartz and not simply just dying, or a zombie consuming the Wraith Quartz that contains what's left of their soul. So, for a long time, millennia, there has been a rumor, a story that If someone has a need for vengeance great enough, that if their hate is strong enough, then that person could eat some wraithstone, and their feelings would be like a spell, and rip open their soul, winnow it down, so all that's left is undying enmity. For zombies, there is not usually any effect of eating a wraith corpse, but if the individual was especially driven or willful enough when they were alive, enough of their personality or intelligence will remain and be restored to the zombie and create a wight just through a different process.
Interesting.
Now, wights have unnatural strength and toughness, fueled by their constant connection to magic, but they get to retain much of their intelligence, will, and personality, though it is tainted by either the process of being an osmote or just being a hateful enough of a bastard to risk eating a magic rock and dying.
Yes. Okay, that makes sense.
That combination is the wight's real and true power, but they do have a secondary and especially horrifying ability beyond that. For you see, when a wight strikes you down, they're not just tearing through your physical skin, they're also tearing through the skin of your soul, as I described earlier, and they're drawing enough of it into the wraith quartz that's lodged in their core, and the unfortunate, not quite dead individuals that a wight causes to suffer become themselves winnowed and rise to their feet as zombies controlled by the wight.
All right. Okay.
So it's important to note that whilst the winnowed are a largely modern phenomena, there have been examples for a very long time, just in smaller amounts.
That's fascinating. Yeah. It'd be really interesting also to sort of dig down with that, like which of those more modern ideas are kind of like self-fulfilling prophecies because someone heard a legend about it happening in the past and they've worked out how to do it in the modern day.
Yeah.
I love that, man. That's fantastic.
Thank you. I might add, none of these, all of these things work. You can basically take the skeletons, zombies, and wights right out of the monsters manual and they plug right in. I'm just giving them a neat Heliakon-specific fluffiness to them.
I think that works. I don't think everything has to be completely redone. I think we are looking at making this setting specifically, I think, plug in quite well with just, the three main books.
Ideally.
Yeah.
Now, you promised me some knowledge about a frog kingdom, and I am desperately interested.
Okay, well, let's have a look at this. So this part is called Bloodwoods of the West and the Frog Country. So, Aaron, although the continent has been inhabited for a long time, there still exist vast areas of true wilderness which span great distances. One such area to the west of Heliakon is a broad, untamed forest called the Crevwood, also known as the Bloodwood. It is a huge expanse of oaks, pines, spruces, cedars, and all kinds of other trees, all sharing one distinct trait, and that is the reddish tinge upon their leaves. In the spring and summer, deep crimson leaves grow and sway in the wind, and in the autumn they turn grey and black, falling to leave the deciduous trees bare for the winter. There is nothing outwardly supernatural about this, although legends abound as to why such a phenomenon might occur. Indeed, a tree transplanted from the Crevwood will, over a short period of time, turn green and return to the usual state of whatever plant it is. And a tree... Yes, and a tree brought in and planted in the Bloodwoods will over time turn red. In the forest itself, there exist several communities who defer to the consociate to various degrees, some paying meagre taxes and some managing to avoid all but the most necessary interactions. The well-known groups in this forest include the Bitterspit Goliath tribes, the matriarchal Mothers of the Oak, the Frog Country, as well as Dirty Byatt's Outlaws, and the Revolutionary Council of Conscientious Objectors. I will outline one of these groups today, and that is, of course, the Frog Country.
Yay!
So, for those who don't know, there is in Dungeons & Dragons a monster known as a bullywug, which is a large, intelligent frog. And the creatures that I'm going to talk about today are more or less that. There's a good reason why we call them frogs, and I'll extrapolate on that, not just bullywugs or like a specific name. In our world, they're collectively known as frogs, and they themselves actually see no great distinction between themselves and the more mundane variety of frogs. They call them little cousins or toad friends, as they are, able through a common tongue attuned to frogs and toads of all kinds communicate to a degree with them.
Right.
There is something peculiar about frogs, as they actually feature in the mythologies and creation myths of almost every species, rather than culture, in some capacity. They just exist in the background of a lot of them. In most, it is generally agreed that the earliest gods who ascended to the heavens were frog gods, who also created themselves out of the mud of the earth, populating the world with frogs and frog-like species. It is generally agreed that something happened in those early days for the frog gods to retreat back into the mud and abandon their creations entirely, allowing for other species and pantheons to rise up. Every now and again, someone digs deep and unearths one of the frog monuments from the savage and bloody times of prehistory. The monuments themselves are explicitly non-magical and resemble totem poles with various ancestral visages carved into them. They are always sculpted from blood-red wood and always intact, untouched by the decay of time. The Frog Country is the only remaining significant settlement of frogs in the world. It is a small town in the Crevwood, for all intents and purposes built around a central monument and over a lake, which is also a spawning pool. The frogs here have been ruled of late by the Grand Amphibiad, a group of 6 elder frogs connected in a kind of hive mind who speak with one voice. The Grand Amphibiad claims to have been chosen by the long-gone frog gods to revitalize frog society, although so far this has meant murdering or exiling dissenting voices in Frog Country and setting up a caste society divided into several rigid layers. Those frogs who have managed to leave unharmed tell of massive social changes brought on by a growing religious interest and rising nationalism. Rumours abound of a great frog army being raised here, but so far nothing of substance has emerged from this increasingly insular society. How many such a country could raise is also up for debate, as consociate census takers have been baffled by wildly fluctuating reported population numbers until the Frog Country severed ties and halted tithes in recent years. And that's what I have about the Bloodwoods and the Frog Country.
Both really inspiring. I have so many thoughts and ideas, and if I was a GM, I'd definitely be running with a bunch of those. Also, unimportant note, but frog gods is a really fun phrase to say.
It's so fun. It's so fun. This bit, it was one of the first things that I wrote for Heliakon.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it wasn't like related to anything. I wasn't quite sure where to put it, but then I thought, well, I'm talking about the Bergs, so I'll talk about a nearby area as well. So that's it for me for this episode. I'm talking just about locations.
I love it. Well, I'm only just talking about the Winnowed.
Just your Winnowed.
Well, though, yeah. I'm not going to talk about any more specific types of Winnowed, because my next section is entitled The Winnowed, War and Politics. The use of osmotes has drastically increased the number of Winnowed in the world, causing changes everywhere. It was the Great Consocius that discovered the process for using osmotes, and were thus the first to deal with Winnowed zombies. The notion to use them as shock troops was almost immediate, but so was the reaction of the combined temples of Gruvald. Zombies, being essentially without volition, was immediately categorized as a form of slavery and so condemned in the strongest possible terms by Gruvald, who still technically remains head of the state. By the priests of Gruvald, I should say. Gruvald has long since ascended to godhood by this point.
Though, Aaron, this could be a situation much like Poland, which in recent years has declared Jesus Christ to be the King of Poland.
Well, we've already kind of established that yes, their head of state is also their god. So it is, in fact, that.
Brilliant.
The righteous connex that ruled the Great Consociate from Sparaxis decreed that all zombies must be immediately destroyed. Now, many wizards defied this law for decades with, frankly, tacit approval from various rulers, both great and small, as the sheer utility and promise of military power was just too great for some. But after the massacre of Five Oaks was made public and immortalized in the perennially popular play of the same name, it became too politically inconvenient to allow lawbreakers to continue. Or at least it was until the war with the Unfettered League changed the calculus. Ever since the war began, the League has been the underdog, especially in terms of wraith courts, and whilst the League has its own stern laws against slavery, they're pragmatism meant they felt justified in using the Winnowed. Given that originally many of their Osmotes were volunteers, the council presented them as individuals that didn't even let death stop them from serving the League. There are those that still believe this bit of wartime propaganda, although the use of the Winnowed wasn't really ever popular with the League and has grown even less so since the treaty.
Mm-hmm.
During the war, especially in Heliakon, where losses were at their heaviest, even the Consociate eventually compromised, justifying their use of zombies in battle as allowing the enemy to destroy them, rather than having to do it themselves. But one of the stipulations of the Bloody Avenues Agreement is that each side destroyed their Winnowed forces. Time marches on, and 10 years ago, Stygian spies reported to the Conarchs of Heliakon that the Unfettered League were keeping the Winnowed Osmotes and storing them in secure sections of the Shallows, sections near the Serpentine Walls. These collections of mostly zombies in so-called rot vaults were set up that, upon being opened, the Winnowed would swiftly reach the surface and be funneled toward the southern side of the city and the many citizens of the great consociate that live there.
Oh, yes, Aaron, yes. The rot vaults. This is so good.
The consociate ambassadors demanded explanations in open council, making the League public aware of these rot vaults for the first time. It was a scandal that the council tried to dump upon the originator of the plan, a certain Councillor Demantum Nilcrum, an aged dwarven Vestari wizard who had sat on the council since its formation. He, however, successfully campaigned to the public and to his fellow councillors that the rot vaults were a necessary safeguard against consociate treachery. The Great Consociate has reacted the only way it feels it can, and has constructed rot vaults of its own against the extraordinarily loud protestations of the Arch-Templari of Gruvold and his many devout followers.
Yes. Yes, that's so good. I love that.
It does, however, mean, and I regret this as much as I am amused by it, but we do have a situation where both sides are now using Winnowed of mass destructions.
Yes. WMDs.
Yes.
Oh my god, I love that. And you know what? Like this whole thing, it's like, you know, echoes of mutually assured destruction type of thing. I love that. Yeah, that works a lot in our setting. I think.
I think
in
so.
Heliakon, yeah.
And the idea that the sort of instead of nuclear apocalypse, you just have undead apocalypse.
Undead apocalypse. Yeah, also bad.
Yeah,
also
definitely
bad.
got better.
Yeah, everyone's always complaining about, oh, it's going to be like Fallout and my mattress is never going to get fixed for 100 years. But really, you know, the real problem is zombies.
Yeah, although, to be fair, there are a lot of people who do prepare for a zombie apocalypse, but they're always preparing for some sort of strange infection and not for any of the obvious magical causes of zombiedom.
I don't know what they're even talking about. It's so stupid.
We should be writing books about how to spot the difference between a zombie and a wight, because one is, you know, a mild threat, but a wight is a serious problem, even if you do spell it without an H.
Yeah, a Wigget. Oh, wow. Okay, great, man.
Yeah.
So now we must go. We must sequester ourselves inside our spheres.
I'm going to go hide in a rot vault.
Is that what you call it?
Yes.
In the grim darkness of the 21st century, there is only World War words.
Welcome back, Aaron, into the Thunder Zone, the Shark Tank, the Zone
The
Tank.
Thunder Shark Tank?
The Thunder Shark Tank.
Hey, Thunder Shark does sound like something we should do in Monstrous Mythtakes.
That does sound like something. Who's gonna start this incredible World War words?
I started on the Fable fodder, which I think means it's my job to start in the World War words.
I think that's the pattern that we have established. Yes, let's do it. I'm so ready.
All right.
I am ready to receive my fun.
Okay, well, let me first deliver some fun to you in just little bits, so sort of fun nuggets. No, don't like that phrase.
Fun nuggets. No, I like that. That's good.
Okay,
I think we should go big on this. We should advertise Aaron's Fun Nuggets, $3 each.
$3. Oh, okay. Well, you know,
I don't know how much. How much are you going to charge for your Fun Nugget, man?
I confess I hadn't given it any thought up until now, and I don't plan on, honestly.
Name of this episode: Fun Nuggets.
It's really not. Nope. Keep off.
God damn it. All right, go.
All right. So I just have a couple little bits and pieces that I would like to add to some of the burgs of South Heliakon.
Let's do it. Let's hear it.
In the burg of Gruvolen, which is the burg almost entirely populated by orcs, a small number of the greyskins, etc., I would like this to also be the burg in which is the home of the great and true temple of Gruvold and the Arch Templari, the highest ranked clergyman of Gruvold in the city.
I like it. Yep.
The temple would have attached to it several large sand-covered arenas, which are used most famously during the Festival of Gruvoldi we talked about a few episodes ago, and where the bouts of magisterial might are held, and for the rest of the year there for training the adherents of Gruvold.
Yes, I like this very much.
Cool. I do like the great and true temple of Gruvold. It feels very grandiose.
It does, but it also feels a little bit defensive.
Yes. It's true. And I don't hate that, honestly. So, I have got a bit more to add to the Undead River Market, which was one of my favourite little burgs that you came up with moments ago.
Mine too.
The river itself is also home to a large number of merchants, and the section of the Undead that runs through the burg is so rife with boats and barges that double as merchant stalls that an agile person could cross the width of the river just by leaping from one to the other.
Nice.
But this congestion here is also becoming a major problem as trading vessels struggle to actually pass through here due to the traffic. And even when they do try, they must travel so slowly that they become easy prey to petty piracy. You can imagine essentially shoplifters just dashing up the side of a ship, grabbing a handful of some sort of valuable cargo, and then almost leaping back into a boat or even just jumping from boat to boat.
So because our world takes place in a sort of medieval-ish analog, actually theft is wrong, unlike in the real world where it is the only ethical consumption under capitalism.
That's a topic for a different podcast, but I don't immediately disagree with you.
I have a lot of cool and radical ideas.
And cool ideas.
And ratty cool ideas, yeah.
Totally ratty cool. Also, the Undead River Market Burg is where Lyman Jerusha's Hungry Minds Cafe, Bookstore and Salon is found.
Brilliant.
Since we established that location in the first one. And Clod. I love what you came up with, this symphomortological orthodox temple and its abstract symphomortology, but it didn't actually really go too much into the nature of the burg, just this particular location within it.
Yes, that's true.
I'd like to say that Clod is home to many learning institutions, both great and small, respected and otherwise. And thus, naturally, it is also home to a great many students whose generally rowdy nature means that the burg is loud and lively at the best of times and utter chaos the rest of it. It's a popular prank amongst the various student bodies to play music or sing outside the symphomortological Orthodox temple. This activity is driving the Grand High Chief Conductor in Sacred Silence absolutely frothing mad and might lead to the poor chap actually trying out some of the abstract symphomortological abstract symphomortological theories.
Nice.
Might sound harmless until you recall that they are technically mucking about with the magic of the dead, and even if those theories are utterly without merit, perhaps discovering this might just cause the conductor to take more direct and practical action against his many childish tormentors.
Very cool. That works, man.
I'm going to practice abstract symphomortological.
I feel like the use case for this is very limited, very narrow.
Yeah, definitely. But maybe we could. Hey, you know the Pirates Penzance song, the "I am the very model of a modern major general." Maybe we could rewrite that, but with abstract symphomortological.
Yeah,
that'd be fun.
Do you think people would be into that?
Not even slightly.
And then we sing it, right?
Yeah, obviously.
Because you did some amazing singing in one of our episodes recently, which I really liked.
Amazing is a great word for it. I was amazed when I listened to it too. This wasn't the same as impressed or pleased with it.
You know, they can't all be winners. But actually, I quite liked it. It's one of those things where, like, you work on something for a bunch of times, and then you sort of like lose the ability to see it like outside of the context of you having put so much work into it.
That is true.
So, like, I've done a bunch of those. Like, I recently did. This is not really. You can leave this in actually, because I guess we are talking about the podcast. Because I recently did an intro to one of our small myth takes, and it was the. I've been trying to pin down like an elf intro, and I have a good concept for it, and I thought I had a good voice for it, but it just never sounded good. So I just did a normalish voice, and I put it through a bit of a filter, and it doesn't sound that elvish, but the bit works, I think. So I'm going to leave it at the end of the day, because those mini intros don't matter so much as the major intros, which don't matter at all, because I feel like they're kind of like funny little windows into some of our world, or even like potential slices of the world. I think some of our intros aren't like 100% canon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The major episodes, definitely. But the small ones, much less so. Actually, it's funny you mentioned trying to come up with an elf voice, because I was doing exactly the same. In fact, I got a slightly strange look from a gentleman walking a rather overweight dog, because I didn't realise that they were there as I was walking down to the shops whilst trying to practice this voice. We'll see if it ever makes its way into an audio recording.
Let's see. Let's see how it goes, man.
All right. Well, what have you got for me when it comes to World War words?
Oh, my God. Okay. So once again, I was just very delighted by all your work on the Winnowed, especially the thing that sort of stuck out for me was the Winnowed War and Politics section. This I really liked, and I immediately, when you were talking about your guy, your Councillor Demantum Nilkrum, I got an idea, and I hope it works, because I wrote 7 paragraphs on it, which I hope that works in the context of the world. So let's see if it does, okay?
Blimey, 7.
Some of it might be good. I doubt that it all will be, but let's have a look. So, being a good public speaker wasn't the only one of Councillor Demantum Nilkrum's useful abilities. The thing that has made him a successful and wealthy member of the League's governing body in Heliakon has always been his connection and embarrassingly accurate knowledge of his nation's secretive mystic fraternities. It is not known whether Councillor Nilkrum is an extraordinary practitioner of magic or else a titanic intellect in the field of deduction, but, unbeknownst to any but those affected and pressed by his knowledge, he has rooted out some of the finest necromantic minds from all across Delmarin, without the knowledge of his peers, of course. The Rotvolts, it is clear, were only the very first part of his plan. The truth is that Demantum Nilkrum is worried. The Bloody Avenues agreement was a win for the League, and the idea that it has held for a quarter of a century is a miracle or a fluke. The councillor doesn't believe in miracles, but he is absolutely terrified of flukes. Happy accidents mean that there is no persistent driving force or inevitability behind the League's success. On paper, at least, the Great Consociate is still exponentially more powerful in all ways that matter. The Rotvolts were an obvious, unsubtle move, the equivalent of setting fire to a chessboard. Mutually assured destruction is an interesting concept, but Councillor Demantum Nilkrum is not interested in death, except in the ways that it can help his people get one over on the Consociate when the time finally comes, and he believes it will come soon. To this end, he has founded a secret organization of his own, its members a curious Venn diagram of associates from gentlemen's clubs, espionage agencies, clandestine fraternities, banned coalitions of necromantic practitioners, and academics. He calls it the Circle Unthinkable. Their task? To create a new kind of Winnowed, a truly intelligent and independent operator who is nevertheless able to be controlled by an outside force, a necromancer specifically. The Circle has even had some successes. Digging deep into forbidden research and long-forgotten lore, this group has unearthed a curious artifact, the twofold sickle of the Pallid Conarchs. And deep beneath the northern partition of the city of Heliakon, in a research vault, the Circle Unthinkable has captured one of these ancient creatures, the Pallid Conarch itself. A bestial, terrified thing, for a time. For 3 years, Demantum's group has been experimenting on it, feeding it treated wraith quartz pellets and removing parts of it, which keep regrowing. The Konark, if it is indeed the individual from the stories, has regained many of its faculties, and in its more lucid moments promises Nilkrim's death at the hands of its brother, though of this one there is as yet no trace. And the Councillor's secret group has had many successes recently. This pallid Konark, after being fed a mixture of blood wraith quartz and other stranger minerals, has responded positively to control. The League, then, is on the verge of a true game changer. The ability to produce these pallid men, as they have come to be called, theoretically, and unleash them upon a city, creatures which act with their own intellect and will to a point, stronger than normal folk, able to heal wounds and regenerate limbs, and some in the circle are even theorizing that the shape of such things could be changed to suit particular military needs. In the abstract, the idea of changing bone and flesh to cultivate some truly fearsome monsters. As with many secret societies, Nilkrim's circle is not as watertight as he would like. Indeed, the rumour of its existence has now reached the ears of a particular figure in the consociate, the worryingly pale and reclusive owner of Verenvel Manor in the countryside surrounding the great city of Spiraxis. And if one rumour exists, then more may follow, and it remains to be seen whether the Circle Unthinkable will get the opportunity to define the League's future, or the consociate's end.
Bloody hell, dude, that is fucking fantastic.
You like that?
I really, really do. Am I correct in thinking that the pallid Konark is something akin to a vampire?
Well, I mean, do you remember one of our recent small myth takes where you actually talked about the pallid Konarks?
It's funny, when you were talking, I was actually hunting through notes. I was like, is that a thing that I actually did, or was a note that I hadn't?
This is in fact a thing that you did, because you defined one of my particular. Now, what was this? This was an artifact. This was the twofold sickle of the pallid Konarks. And you said how they were created there, and we sort of had a bit of a conversation about how it was in that transitional state in the consociate between, like, that very bloody blood and bone kind of magic and the wraith quartz type magic. And you mentioned vampirism as a sort of inspiration for that. So I thought, you know what, let's explore that a little bit.
Overall, I adore it. I mean, I came up with that whole section about the politics to give more grand overall arcing meta plot, and you've just taken that and attached a supercharger to it and made it so much more interesting, exciting.
Thank you.
What's the name of that organization? The Circle
Unthinkable.
Oh gosh, that's such a great name for a secret society trying to find a way of changing the face of a continent.
Yeah. I was thinking about, what was it, Operation Unthinkable, which was in the Second World War, right?
Oh,
am I right?
I confess the only operation in World War II that I remember the name of is Operation Mincemeat, because I was...
Yeah, so Operation Unthinkable was the name given to two related possible future war plans. The Winston Churchill. It was part of the plan of, like, invading the Soviet Union in 1945.
Huh.
Yeah. So I thought, this kind of works.
I know about Operation Mincemeat and, of course, the Manhattan Project. But no, I love it. The Circle Unthinkable, fantastic. And yes, you've definitely grasped the character of the man that I had in mind.
Oh, great. Fantastic. I'm really glad. And, in this, I've put in essentially, we're talking about vampirism, right? So I've essentially put in two types of vampire, right? So we've got one of these pallid Konarks that's been, very bestial, very, animalistic for a while, but it sort of recovers over time. And then towards the end, we've got the pale and reclusive owner of Verenvel Manor. So I'm thinking more like a Strahd type character, Dracula.
I think von Carstein.
Von Carstein, yeah.
I'm deeply impressed and love it, and would now like to talk to you. In fact, if anything, I'd like to challenge you slightly, since we are supposed to be at war after all.
I love being challenged. Actually, that's not true. I hate being challenged. Don't do it.
Well, I'm doing it anyway.
It's all right. Yeah, do it anyway.
The Frog Country.
Let's do it. Okay.
All right.
Challenge.
So before I really get into this, probably my favorite video game of all time is Breath of Fire 2.
I love Breath of Fire too. I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, and there is a whole kingdom of frog folk in there.
Oh
This
yeah. Oh my god. Yes.
with Jean, and they're all who, despite the fact that you meet dozens of these frog folk, Jean is the only one that speaks with a bad French accent.
That's funny.
Oh, God.
I like that.
Highly recommend the game. Anyway, the Frog Country. Now, you said that the Frog Country is the only remaining settlement of any size, and I agree that it is the last remaining large settlement, but I would challenge you that there are, in fact, many small frog villages across Delmarin. It's just that the majority of them are hidden.
Okay. Yeah.
And the reason for this is that these religious ideals and cultural changes that the Amphibiad are currently espousing and enforcing are not new. It's simply that when they first appeared in the Frog Country, it was during the waning centuries of the Concordate, and the adherents were exiled. This wasn't a single event, but a series of small purges across dozens of generations, each group traveling in a different direction and making home in a different place.
Okay.
Now, the Frog Country weathered the fall of the Concordate and the various waves of refugees from Heliakon moderately well. They continued to be a prosperous, if small nation, with ties to the surrounding groups when the Great Consociate, many years later, finally made contact, and the Frog Country was made a vassal state, but with more autonomy than most. The leader of it is the Crow King. Pause for laughter. No? Okay.
Very good.
I appreciate it. The Crow King would continue to rule as much as they ever had, but just now with greater ties to the wider Delmarin. And it's then that the folk of the Frog Country became aware of a few of the other villages of frogs that weren't as much in hiding, and they gleefully established contact with what they thought were long-lost kinfolk, and that the mistakes of the past were forgiven in this new age.
Okay, yeah, I see how that's connecting, yeah.
Right. Now, unfortunately, the Crow King could not have been more wrong. These exiled frogs were still croaking from the same chorus. Whatever power lies behind the elder frogs and the lesser amphibiads has kept the many different and scattered groups a cohesive, if disparate, group. Now, with contact with this great city of frogs re-established, the various amphibiads began a multi-generation-long version of the Crow King's throne, which has succeeded not even 10 years ago, and led to the formation of the Grand Amphibiad and the rapid change to the Frog Country's culture. Now, this has led to a new wave of exiles, those that now reject the elder frogs and the frog gods that abandoned them, and a great many of those exiles are making their way to Heliakon. And there are rumors that amongst these exiles is the Frog Prince and the heir to the throne of the Crow King.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah. Okay. This is a challenge that I'll accept because I like frogs and you've just given me more frogs, which is fantastic.
It's true. When I was listening to you discuss the Frog Country, I liked I had a sense that there was a sort of, I hesitate to use the word, but I'm going to use it anyway, sort of Cthulhu-esque elder gods thing going on, and with this new change to their culture was threatening and malign. But it's still a country of frogs. And I have in my head, as I mentioned, the Breath of Fire 2 nation, which is very cute and folklore-esque. And yeah, cute is the word. So when I was coming with what I wanted to add to it, I wanted to keep that malign, cultish, sort of ancient gods and so forth thing going on. But I also wanted to have the leader of the nation called Crow King. And I'm not entirely sure if you can balance cute with Cthulhu, but that's kind of what I'm going for.
Cute Cthulhu? Yeah, I think you can. Yeah. I think it's a fine line. I think there can be humor and tragedy.
Yes, and it makes sense that it's the Crow King, right? It's not,
of course,
completely goofy.
No. I like it. Oh my God.
You had another piece?
No, that's it.
Oh no, that was it. You just had
that was
one.
it. Yeah, just one really long one.
It was a big piece, and it was a fantastic piece.
Have you got more?
I don't. No, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's it. We've done it. That means we've done it.
Yeah,
You beautiful bastard. Again, we've done it. Again,
technically
but now we have to go to
parent.
jumping to conclusions. Are you ready to jump with me, Aaron?
In a sort of tired hop kind of way, yes.
In the grim darkness of the 21st century, there is only jumping to conclusions.
Aaron,
Let's do that.
let's jump to some conclusions. You start jumping and I will follow.
All right. I think we're going to have to revisit your map now.
I think we will definitely have to revisit that map, yeah.
And it might be time that that you and I actually nut out some of the locations within Heliakon.
I think that's a good idea, yeah. Do a bit of a rough and ready, rude map, city map, perhaps. Yeah.
Put the river Ionid that you've named into it, and plot out where the burgs and districts are, and place some of our locations that we've now established.
Yeah, definitely. I'm also looking at various cartographic artists and things like that, and I'm trying to learn a little more so that I can do a better job with map making than I have been. I am not very good at making maps, unfortunately.
Do you get excited by maps like I do? Just that
I get excited by the idea of maps, but the reality of it is I drew a map for... This is an interesting thing. I drew a map originally for the northern section of the world in the role-playing game Barbarians of Lemuria, which you can purchase. It's a real game. I drew it in... I don't remember what even. It wasn't paint. It wasn't Kira. I think it was actually a pirated Adobe Photoshop, and I did a good job. But then the people who made that role-playing game actually got the map professionally made with all of my locations and stuff in there, which was really nice. I really wish they had given me a bit more of a credit there. And also someone translated my editions into German at one point, which was that was a nice and humbling experience because I enjoy that. But as it is, I'm not fantastic in making maps, but I do like looking at them.
Yeah, I do. I'm no artist, as you well know, and so
we do what we can.
It's I enjoy making maps still. There's something a good, particularly fantasy maps. The landscape can tell a story, not just in the names of the locations, but how nations, in reality and in a fantasy setting, they form around and are defined by these physical spaces and the kinds of people that live there. You can get an idea about what their life is like depending on their geography. I had a wonderful experience. I was working with a friend of mine, young Lolita, on a project of hers that will hopefully one day see the light of day in a visual novel game format. She's an amazing author, but when it came to actually sort of building the world was not her strong suit. And I was able to talk about how, if a nation that lives at the end of a very large river section is likely to be heavily influenced by trading, they're going to have that sort of thing. If you live in a desiccated area, you tend to have either highly mobile groups, or you have larger settlements based around, solid supplies of water, because that's how it works in reality.
Makes sense, yeah. And
it's just fun to come up with these things. I highly recommend to any of our listeners, do some basic research. Wikipedia is a great place to start, but go to Dimmicks or whatever bookstore near you and look in the non-fiction section for geography and other bits and pieces. But there's also some wonderful tutorials online as well that will talk about a lot of this stuff.
Absolutely. And do go on various world-building subreddits, but don't feel like everything and every piece of advice that you get from those places will apply to you. Just because something works one way in the reality of our reality does not necessarily mean that it will work exactly the same way in the reality of your fantasy reality.
I mean, at bare minimum, if it's just cool, you just do it and then say a wizard did it and move the hell on.
A wizard did it. just like creating this podcast. A wizard did it.
Yeah. Well, two wizards. You
Two
and me.
wizards. Yes, we
Two
are.
wizards did it.
We are the wizards of creation.
And I think these two wizards have, in fact, done it.
I think they've done it. I would like to thank every single person who is clicking on this podcast, every single person who is perhaps doing a review of it. So far, we haven't had many reviews. We have had some people clicking like on things, which is good. But we do like and like. But we would love to know what people think about this podcast. I also want to thank Aaron. Aaron, thank you. You're doing a really great job with all of the PDF documents, and I think you're making it look really fantastic, which is
thank you.
what we're looking for.
And for those of you who perhaps aren't looking at those PDF documents, this is a good time to tell you that not only do we clean up a little bit of the text, but we like to add little extras and little bits and pieces in there. And I'd like to start adding some of the things we talk about in our smaller mini episodes into those PDFs as well.
And our season will culminate in a one big PDF with art and layout and all sorts of useful things. So look out for that, and it will be entirely free because communism works.
Basically, yeah. We'd rather you support us just to make things rather than purchasing the individual bits and pieces.
Absolutely. If this podcast ever becomes popular enough that one of us can quit our jobs, then I'd be happy.
Yes, I bet you would. I, on the other hand, will want to continue telling stories. But yes, please check out our Patreon if you're remotely interested. You won't need to. We'll continue putting our things out for free. But we'd love it. We think positively of you. I'd say we put you in our prayers, but we don't have any prayers.
Okay. And with that, goodbye forever.
Bye.
I've mapped the moons above us and their cycles astrological. I've catalogued the jungle blooms from smallest to most prodigal. I've charted how the soul departs in fashion mythological and studied all the theories, abstracts, and infomortological.